All right. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna be professional-ish.
Yeah, we're going to be professional.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, here we
I'm,
go.
I'm a good guest. I'm a good guest.
But I'm not a good host, so that's where the problem is.
No, you're fantastic.
Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Wellness Simplified podcast. Simple wellness tips to help you improve your life without turning it upside down. With your host, award-winning fitness instructor, nutrition coach, and wellness expert, Susie Phoebens.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today I am so excited because I have my dear friend Kayla Short of Short Presents, and that's shortpresents.com, and on Instagram, Twitter at Short Presents. Hi, Kayla.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for finding some time in your super busy schedule to chat.
Of course, anything for you.
Oh my goodness. So today we are going to be talking about nighttime routines. But before we do that, I was wondering if you'd like to tell us a little bit more about yourself and why wellness is so important to you.
So wellness in general, I think, is really important. You and I have kind of been at this blogging game for quite a while.
We're grandmas.
So, blog grandmas,
Yeah.
woohoo! So I think for us, we really just know that we need to make sure that we're balancing everything. Because I think with our jobs, we can be always working, #always on. And that sounds great and wonderful, but it definitely can take a toll on your health and your well-being, and then ultimately your productivity, right?
Yeah.
So you can always sort of feel yourself slipping when you can't concentrate or you're not as motivated, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, like, this is why this is important. So yeah, I would say that for me, because I've been doing it for so long, and obviously you want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
You want that stamina. You have to work at it. It's like your other full-time job.
For sure. And this is on, as we're recording, the podcast episode that's going up this week, so nobody will have heard it yet, is talking a little bit about self-care and how some people still think that it's selfish. And I made the argument that for me and for you, because if people don't know, and I don't know how they could not know, but if they don't know, Kayla is a fashion blogger. She does fashion consultations. And, you know, in both of our jobs, we sort of act as a counselor to people. They tell us things that they wouldn't necessarily tell other people. And we have to make sure that we're in a good mental place to accept that information. Like, we have to make sure that we have good self-care and our own wellness is solid, or else we can't handle what the people are pushing off on us. And I say pushing off, that's not a good way of saying it, but you know,
No,
I
for sure.
hear all sorts of things all the time, and I'm sure you do too, and you really need to be in a good mind space to be able to take that off their shoulders and not let it weigh your own down.
Yeah, I think even in terms of just, going through your DMs in the run of the day, I can get questions that run, from any end of the spectrum. And you're so right. I never really thought about it from that perspective, but you do need to sort of get yourself right so that you can help others. And with our jobs, we're always assisting, we're always helping. There's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And even just as a blogger in general, all of the other stuff aside, we face a lot more rejection and competitiveness and comparing stuff that, like, a lot of people don't realize because they only see, the sunshine and rainbows that we're putting out. And I think you do kind of have to have your head screwed on so that you can just, take the punches sometimes.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't think a lot of people realize if they're not in this space. Like, when you see people with sponsored content, especially if it's someone who's pitching that content, they're getting no's 90% of the time.
Yeah, or criticism, whenever you're exchanging money. I always laugh when people are like, oh, I want to be a blogger because I want to be my own boss. And I just think it's so funny because anytime you're exchanging money, you're no longer the boss. Like, you're providing a service. And not to say that, like, brands dictate exactly everything that I post, but they have feelings.
They do. They have a lot of feelings about what should be and should not be in a picture, and what words should and should not be used. And
yeah, and I think it can be tough because you're constantly criticized, and depending on the brand partner, they're under a lot of stress too. A lot of people who are working in PR firms, they're like the middle guy, right? So
Right.
They have the client and then they have us. And sometimes the way that they communicate how the client feels can be aggressive.
Yeah, it definitely can. So there's a lot of things that really go into wellness. And what we really want to talk about today is routines. And all around the interwebs, everybody's always talking about their morning routines and how they get up and they have their hot lemon water and then they sit for 20 minutes and meditate and then they pray and then they write a book and run a marathon before their kids get up at 5 a.m. And I know we both I still have a morning routine of sorts. Anybody who gets out of bed in the morning has a routine, but I do most of my routine-y stuff in the evening. And I know that you do some of yours in the evening as well. So I thought it would be fun to talk about that and why it is that everybody's talking about the morning and nobody's talking about the evening. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because for me, sleep is so important. Like we were talking about, we're always on, we're always engaged. So I need that downtime more than anything.
Yeah.
And it's actually really funny because I would say that my nighttime routine actually starts at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now you're going to laugh.
I probably won't.
Because I am committed to my sleep. And what I mean by that is at 2 p.m., I specifically make a point to cut off any type of caffeine, even like to the point that I won't even eat chocolate. I know that that's like a big thing for people, like after dinner, it's something sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm very caffeine sensitive. People who are like, oh, I had like 10 cups of coffee. I am just like, I'm in panic, like thinking about it. I would have a heart attack. Like you would be taking me to the hospital.
I love you dearly. I'm not sure I could handle you on 10 cups of caffeine.
I mean, I'm pretty peppy. One is good to get me going in the morning. And then like I might have tea or something, but I don't have anything with caffeine after 2 p.m. I mean, it depends on the day. If I'm going to an event or something, I need to like power through 1,000 different things. I might have a cup of tea, but I will never have coffee after 2 o'clock unless I plan on staying up until the next day.
Which sometimes happens.
Which could happen. But I'm pretty committed. I always joke that I'm like a baby and I need a ridiculous amount of sleep. And so I need to start that early. And I know that sounds crazy. But for me, it's really important. And then I would say that also like our jobs are kind of crazy. Our days are kind of all over the place. So for me, having a bit of a routine, even if it's just a nighttime routine, I think it just gives me some semblance of sanity, I guess. I don't know if you feel the same.
100%. Especially where we both will often be out working in the evenings.
Yeah.
I think that's something that...
classes or something. Like I'm always exercising or I have dance classes in the evening. So like you need to unwind.
Yeah, I have 2 nights a week that I don't get home from teaching until 9 p.m. And for me to then go to bed and be up for 5 or 6, that's just not going to happen. Like you can't go from teaching Zumba to bed in a 10-minute period of time. It's just not feasible. No. So it's easier, I think, quotes, if you have a regular-ish hour job where you're home by 5 or 6 or even 7, but when you're out until 9 or if you're at an event, we both know if you're at an event, you are there until the bitter end and you have given yourself like... Mm-hmm. People do not realize how much tweeting and posting and Instagramming and everything goes on when you're at a live event. It is exhausting. And you have to come home and have a few minutes to yourself before you dive into bed. I just can't fall right into bed and go to sleep. It's just not happening.
No, me neither. And kudos to anyone that can.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty rare. For me, I'm very much the same as Susie. If I'm at an event, I am on. I am so present. I'm very focused on whoever's in front of me. And then, I'm capturing things. I'm always thinking about, you got like your side eye going on, like, oh, we should take a picture of this and we need a selfie. And, you and I, we've gotten home so many times. We're like, shoot, we should take a selfie together.
I know. I don't think people even know that we like each other.
I know. And then, for me, I come home and then I'll spend even more time on Instagram after the fact. So, engaging with other people, or, maybe I was talking about something with someone, so I send them a link to whatever. Like, there's always something else you're doing even when you get home. But for me, for sure, I'm with you 100%. I need to work on unwinding, and some of the things that I do to kind of help with that, for me, I know that we were chatting just before we hopped on here about taking baths.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's a big one. It's kind of the time where I let myself just be, and I know that that's really rare in our jobs. I feel like our phones are always in our hands. I mean, sometimes they're in our hands in the bathtub too.
Yeah, I have been known to reply to client questions while hanging over the side of the tub on my phone. So,
Yeah.
but I try not to. I try not to, but I'm not always that good at it. But I figure if I'm in the tub, at least part of me is relaxed. Even if my hands and head are still working, at least my legs, which are usually what need the most relaxing, are getting that. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think for me, I love like essential oils, and I know that you do too.
Mm-hmm.
I really lean on those quite a bit. And like Epsom salts, and I love the Epsom salts with the oils mixed in, like Dr. Teal's or whatever. Hashtag not sponsored.
But it could be. If you would like to contact us, we would be happy.
I would be happy to be a sponsor. But, I mean, I go through so much of that stuff. Sage is another company, I really lean on their products. But, yeah, so for me, when I get home, if I really am just feeling like my mind is just racing, I know that if I sit down and try to read a book, it's not going to happen. Like, it's just not, I'm not there.
Yeah.
So hopping into the tub, it just, you're washing off your day. I love that too. And just kind of being alone with yourself for a little while, which is nice as well. And for me, the Epsom salts, just soaking my body in warmth, it definitely brings me down a notch. It's like meditation almost.
Yeah, and I know we both have chronic pain issues, and soaking in a tub, really, there was a year that I was trying to save water, so I thought I was going to go to showers, and I just couldn't do it. Like, for me to function doing what I do, I just need to have the bath. I'm sorry for the environment. I really am. I wish I could save a bit more water for you, but I can't.
Apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think you actually waste more water in the shower than in the bathtub.
I wouldn't, because my shower is like 16 seconds long, because I hate it. But I'm sure the average person, it's like that hand washing versus dishwasher thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
but
after your bath, what else do you typically do in your unwinding routine?
So I think there's something to be said about, the clothing that you're wearing and what that signals to your body. Obviously, when you're in a suit, you're serious and you're going to do some work. But hopping into like a fluffy robe or like into your pajamas and slippers, like that to me is like, okay, I'm home, I'm relaxed, I'm not checking emails. So I try as much as possible to set business hours for when I'm responding to those kinds of things. Obviously, Instagram things get a little bit gray because people are pitching you at all hours of the day. But even when those things come in, I do try to be pretty diligent and be like, hey, do you mind flipping me an email? And then I deal with it when I'm at my desk, because I just need that space. Which is different for everyone, but for me, I like to sit at my desk and do my work, especially because I work from home. So I kind of want to have some safe spaces. So getting into, I know this is a really long answer, but
you go, girl.
So getting into pajamas, getting into a robe. One of the things that I'm really adamant about is that I don't have a TV in my bedroom, and I haven't since ever, I think, like probably since I was at home with my parents. And I'm very adamant about not having one because I don't want media where I'm sleeping.
Sure.
I know that I'm not like everyone.
Oh, no, everybody has to figure out their thing for themselves. We do have a TV in our bedroom, but, it often doesn't get used. And a large part of the reason we have it is so if Joff's like watching hockey in the other room and I want to watch something, I can still be in the same vicinity
Yeah.
I could go to the basement and watch TV down there, but I feel like I'm in a whole different world when I'm down there. And
Yeah,
sometimes you
yeah,
still want to be in the same sort of place. And
for sure.
also, I will sometimes put a movie on Netflix while I'm laying in bed having a rest when I know that I'm not going to be able to sleep and I'm just going to be more comfortable. But it's
Mhm.
not like I watch TV every night from bed or anything. Maybe once every couple of weeks I will.
Mhm.
But
And
there is a big,
everyone's different. Yeah. For me, I just think the less I can bring it into that sort of safe place, the
Mhm.
better. I'm also pretty picky about like alarm clocks, and I sleep with an eye mask, and I think that you do too.
I sure do. And I also don't even have an alarm clock. We don't keep our phones in our bedroom. We keep our phones in the office at night. But I have an old iPhone that I just use as an iPod, and Jeff has his iPod that I don't know how it's even still working, but it is. And that's what we use for alarm clocks, because that sound coming out of an alarm clock, I cannot deal with it. And at least the alarms on iPhones are much less jarring, and you don't feel like you've gone from asleep to being, having like a fog alarm go off inside your ear or
Yeah,
something.
you could like have a heart attack or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have an alarm clock that like gradually gets louder.
yeah.
Travis actually got it for me. Oh my gosh, like 10 years ago or something. But and it still works. It's great. But it's just yeah, that little gradual kind of thing. A lot of times I'm awake before the thing goes off anyway, but at least it's not super disruptive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm very much about kind of like setting that scene and that kind of sleep hygiene kind of commitment. I try to keep my room a little bit cooler. Apparently, that helps you with sleep.
Hmm.
And then I also, just to like backtrack a little bit, so, getting in the tub, getting, relaxed and being in pajamas and all that stuff, I wear contacts. And so, my friends, I know we talked about this before, but during last summer when all of my friends were getting married, um, we had a bunch of bachelorettes, and so it was like having sleepovers with your friends, but we're grown ups. And all my friends would make fun of me because I would always like wash my face and do my whole skincare routine, no matter how many drinks we had. And I think it's just funny because I never really thought about it as a routine. I just kind of did it.
Yeah.
And because I wear contacts, I'm in there anyway. I figure I might as well just like do the damn thing.
Get it over with.
Get over with. So I think the same thing about being in the tub and like washing off your day. The same is true for like makeup. And so I definitely every single night I never sleep with makeup on. I can't tell you the last time that I did. Probably like way back in my 20s. And
Way back, way back.
I'm an old lady now. But and it changes. So some nights I'll do more and sometimes I do less, but I always wash it off and I always put something hydrating on my skin regardless. And I think for me, taking out my contacts and being makeup free in pajamas, in my glasses, like that's relaxed Kayla.
Yeah.
Like not many people see that Kayla.
And I'm the same way. If I'm really tired, I might be lazy and just use like a makeup removing wipe, like a
Yeah.
Burt's Bees or something, and just so I'm at least making sure that there's nothing on my face. But if I've taught Zumba, I have to wash my face because there's too much junk. I've been
Yeah.
sweating and it's just gross. And I
I
can't
know.
deal with that. And I hate it if my skin's tight because it's too dry, so I gotta put something on there.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm pretty committed. Like some days I'll do more like exfoliating, or I like sometimes I alternate. So some nights I'll do hydrating, and then because we're getting older, then I'll do like some anti-aging things.
Yeah.
And then some nights I'll do like a whole thing, like it's like a whole full hour of like face.
Well, often on Tuesdays, actually, because I teach Zumba on Tuesdays. I didn't do it last night. I thought this was Tuesday until just a second ago.
It's a long,
Um,
it's a long
I'm
weekend.
I'm
Bye.
so confused. I often will do a face mask on Tuesday and on Sunday, and I think I do it on Tuesday because like Tuesdays are one of my long days, and it's just so nice to have at the end of the day to have just a little something extra
Yeah.
to just hang out with, and then your face feels all nice. And
I usually do that, like, if I have, say if I was doing like a segment or something the next day, or if
yeah.
I had a presentation or anything where I'm sort of like in front of people, I'll do the same thing. Just to kind of, I think it's just one thing that you can kind of feel like you can control.
Yeah.
It makes you kind of feel better. But yeah, I love doing like the sheet masks, or before I fly, like when I'm traveling, I love doing that, just to kind of prep my skin. But yeah, I'm definitely like a skincare before bed kind of person. I love putting like, lotion on my legs, cream on my feet, slipping my feet into some socks.
Yeah.
Just doing the whole thing. And I try as much as possible not to be on my phone for like an hour before I go to bed at least. Just because for me personally, when I'm on my phone, it's like reminding me of things I need to do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have to post this, or oh, I have to respond to this, or I need to shoot this content, or I have like 85 DMs I need to go through. So if I just put it down and away from me and it's on silent, then I can sort of like put it out of my mind or something.
Yeah, I usually try to put my phone like on the charger after I've had my bath, unless I'm still figuring out my evening snack, in which case I'm there fiddling around to see how much food I can still fit into my day. But other than that, I try to put it up, and because that's the only real time that Joff and I get to spend any time together is after I'm finished my class and he's off work. So we have like an hour, maybe an hour and a half max most evenings. So I try not to sit there and scroll through Instagram when I'm with him, but sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah, we're the same. Like we'll both put our phones away, and then we might like watch a little bit of like Netflix together, like a show that we're watching together or something. And again, it's like our time. A lot of times I'm like talking through it 'cause I'm like trying to get Travis caught up on the day, and he's like trying to watch TV, and it's so funny. He's like, this is not the time to be telling me about these things. And I'm like, I haven't seen you all day. This is my first opportunity. But like if we ever had like a reality TV show, it would be really funny to watch because I'm definitely the annoying one. But yeah, I feel like I feel like morning routines, it's easy to be like, I wake up and I do this and I do X, Y, and Z. I definitely have a routine, but there's kind of like an ebb and flow to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel the same way, but I'm very committed to certain things. So again, not touching my phone. I think your advice of putting it on a charger is really smart. I always say that like, if your phone needs to be charged, then probably you do too.
My phone always needs to be charged because the battery is absolute crap. So I don't know what that says about me. Apparently, I always need to be charged too, which probably is not inaccurate. It's probably not.
Right? Like, I feel like when my laptop dies or when my phone dies, I'm like, you know what? This is probably just a sign that everyone needs a break.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll pick up a magazine or a book or something where I'm just not looking at screens, because I feel like we could do that every second of the day. And I really don't think it's good for our health or our eyeballs even,
Yeah, it's not. Do you have the night shift set on your phone so that it turns yellowy?
Yeah, like by a certain time, which is really helpful because the blue light is really bad for you. Apparently, it's also very aging, which I learned recently. So there was this like article that came about how selfies make you age quicker. And it has nothing to do with the fact that like you're taking a picture, but that you're in front of a screen.
Well, we could have used this information 10 years ago.
I know.
Look at all the aging we've done. We didn't even know it.
I mean, it's our job, right? It's hard. We need to like invent a sunscreen for computers or something.
I feel so ripped off right now.
Like sun isn't the problem, it's our screen. Which
right.
Is so interesting. But it's definitely something to be mindful of, that it's not good for your health and even just like your mental health. I think the internet does a really good job of making us feel like garbage.
It really does.
like we're not measuring up, or we're always comparing ourselves, or someone else is hustling more than we are. So I think anytime that you're choosing to participate in real life, I think is a good idea.
And I always, when I'm at an event, like not necessarily like a blogging event, but when I'm somewhere that I've never been before, experiencing something I've never experienced before, I try to still take a couple pictures, maybe a video clip or two so that I can have that memory. But otherwise, I try to actually experience it as it's happening instead of the
Yeah.
people who sit there and watch the whole thing through their phone as they're recording it. Like that recording is never going to be as impactful as
The real thing.
exactly. And it kind of upsets me to see how many people, like even at Disney World, who are just watching the fireworks show through their phone as they're recording it. Like, sure, if you want to record it, set it up, but you don't have to look at that screen the whole time. You can turn your head up and actually look at it.
And like, who is going back and watching firework footage?
I
And
don't know, but anytime there's fireworks, you can be sure that there's going to be all sorts of clips all over the gram.
I know, but it's crazy. Like, I am definitely the type that will like take a picture, and once I've taken my picture, it's gone. Like my phone's away. When I go out for dinner or something with Travis, I might do a quick little Insta story. I mean, unless I'm working, then that's different. But for regular life, I do what I need to do and I put it aside. And I think you need to kind of create those boundaries for yourself, whether you're a blogger or not. Look at the person who's in front of you or your friends who are around you. And I've been out at so many social things, and like you'll see like someone just like off to the side on their phone, and you're like, you could do that anytime, but these people might not be here forever. But yeah, so I think for bedtime, you have to be sort of mindful of those like images that are in your head before you're sleeping. And if the internet's not really making you feel so great about yourself and reminding you of all the things that you're going to do, you're not going to sleep well, which is going to impact so many other aspects of your life.
And even with the night shift or the yellowing light after a certain hour, it's still hard on your eyes, and it messes up your circadian rhythm because the light in your eyes confuses your brain. It doesn't realize that it's time for bed. Same with TV, honestly.
Yeah.
So if you are on your phone or watching TV right up until the second you're trying to go to sleep, you're going to have a harder time to go to sleep because you're messing with your brain's rhythm.
Well, it releases dopamine. So it's like when you play video games or any of those things, any kind of like that instant gratification, it gives you more energy. So the reason why, a lot of times when people are not feeling so great about whatever's happening in their day, they'll pick up their phone because it actually releases those happy hormones, like whether you realize it or not. It's very, very addictive, but also forces you to kind of check out of your life, which is kind of like a scary thing to think about as us as a society. But I think we have to be our own health advocates the same way with anything, going to the doctor, going to the naturopath, and working out, eating right. You have to make that decision for yourself, but you also have to find those boundaries and discipline within yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. And if you're just on autopilot, then you could end up in a scary place, I think.
Yeah. And, a lot of the thing with the morning routines, too, is, like I mentioned earlier, people who are journaling and doing morning pages and all of that as a way to start the day, which is great. I do some of that, but I do it before I go to bed because it acts as a way for me to empty my brain so I'm not thinking about it all night. If there's a bunch of things I want to remember to do tomorrow before I go to bed, I'm going to write a post-it of those things that I don't want to forget. I have my journal at night that I write a little something about the day, some things that I'm thankful for, some things that I'm tracking, some health, wellness things that I'm tracking to keep myself accountable. I do all of that at night, and I do it then because it's relaxing for me. It's one of the last things I do before I crawl into bed with my book.
Yeah.
And it's just a way to sort of finish off the day. I totally get the merit of doing it in the morning. That is never, ever going to happen because I literally wake up, roll out of bed, go to the bathroom, make a cup of coffee, get my computer, sit down, and start working. Like, that's just what I do. So
I felt like action in the morning. Like, I want to just do the things. I'm with you, though. At the end of the day, I do the same thing. I try to think of 3 things that I'm grateful for from the day, or 3 things that I'm proud of myself for. And I try to have those conversations with Travis as well. We try to have like that one-on-one time, uninterrupted, just talking to each other, staring into each other's eyeballs,
Oh.
and just like connect, because I think, just like check in with each other. It's really easy, I think, with routines and work and life, and we're all on the hamster wheel together, and just to be like, okay, how was your day? Like, what kind of things, what was like something that was good about today? And maybe what's something that you want to work on for tomorrow? Or, like just have those, it doesn't need to be anything deep, that's for sure. But
No, and in my journal, some days it is saddest. I'm like, oh, what even happened today? And then I'm like, today was a busy day. I got a lot of work done. The end. And then other days I have lots of great things to share. But I also do 3 things. I do 3 things that I am thankful for that day. And I also do 3 things that I'm thankful for that haven't happened yet. So
I love.
yeah, so last week and even the week before, I was in Cape Breton on the weekend. So one of the things that I was putting in my future one was that I was so thankful that I had a safe trip to and from Cape Breton and that we had such a great time. It hadn't happened yet. Yeah, so I do that. And if there's things that last year I talked a lot about how happy I was about my new car that had good air conditioning. Because that car of mine was a problem, and I do have a new car, and I'm not saying it's because I was writing it in my future dated gratitude journal, but I'm not saying that it isn't either.
That's right. I mean, I love the whole idea of manifesting. I also just love the idea of approaching something before it even happens with gratitude. I
Yeah.
think that in and of itself will just bring you a better experience. I think there's so much to be said about our thoughts becoming actions. Obviously, we know that the research is there, but putting it into practice, when you do, I think you see so much of the benefit, and I think you just enjoy your life better, even if like it's just a coincidence or whatever, woo woo things people want to say. But if you approach something from a positive mindset from the beginning, it's going to be good.
Yeah, and I think another part of it is too, it helps you keep your goal in the forefront of your mind. Like, it's fine and dandy for us to go into a new year and say, like, this is the year I'm going to pay off all my debt. And then you don't think about it again until the end of December. And then you're like, well, I didn't do that. Well, you weren't keeping it in the forefront of your mind. So if that is one of your goals in your future gratitude journal, you can be saying, like, I'm so thankful that I was able to pay off all my debt by January 1st, 2021, or whatever arbitrary number you want to put out there. But that's going to keep it active in your mind. So even if it's not in your conscious mind, your subconscious knows, and that really makes a difference.
Like, when it's there, it sort of signals to you different ideas, because it's sort of just like there as a reminder. So if something comes and you're like, oh, well, actually, I could probably make this extra money, or if I do X, Y, and Z, then, it'll bring extra money from this. Or if I'm saving money here, maybe I go and talk to someone at the bank and kind of move things around. Because you've made that your goal and you've been grateful about little things that are coming, it just makes you sort of like, it triggers more stuff. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's really important and helpful, and it is a little bit woo-woo, but if you kind of put the woo-woo aside and just say, okay, I'm going to write 3 things I'm grateful for right now, and then I'm going to pretend that it's a year from now, and I'm going to write down 3 things that I'm thankful for that are true as of a year from now. And there's still a little woo in it, but that might sound a little bit less crazy to someone who's really not into that manifestation thing. And you can sort of see how that can put it in their life without making themselves feel like they've fallen off the cliff of crazy.
For sure. And even I think just sort of injecting that into some of your relationships, like I love asking people questions. It's like my favorite thing to do. I'm like curious, Kayla, always. Sometimes it gets me into trouble because I'm like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have asked this.
That's why God made you so adorable, so that when you ask questions you shouldn't have, then people will just forget.
Maybe that's why I have a Disney princess voice. But I think it's sort of a non-confrontational way to kind of learn a lot about your partner or your friends, or, I ask questions all the time, like, because of my life experience and, getting hit by a car so young, I sort of look at things different. And I always want to ask people, like, okay, if you found out that you were going to die by this date, like, what would you do? Or, like, how would you change your life? And I think it's so interesting to hear people's answers, because I'm like, well, why aren't you doing it? Like, what's holding you back? Or why haven't you made any steps to do it? And I just think you can really learn a lot by asking questions. So even if it's just at the end of the day, you're like talking with your partner, like, oh, like, what was your favorite thing about today? Like, just as simple as that can really sort of just put gratitude out and open up more of those conversations, even with like the most skeptical and,
I know we've joked that we share the same brain, but literally when I am talking to people and if they've gone on a trip or they've done something, I always ask them, what was your favorite thing that happened today or on that trip or whatever. It's basically the same question.
Yeah, I mean, I love that question, I think. And I think there's some beautiful things that can come out of everyday things. You don't need to even be going anywhere special. It could just be like, I was at the supermarket and a girl passed me a really good avocado,
Yeah.
like, it can be so stupid, but it means something to you. And I think it just brings a new kind of perspective to your life and opens up other conversations with the people around you.
One of my clients, I'm just going to describe her as a client. I know she's going to listen to this and wonder why I said it that way, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Texted me to say that she was out for lunch one day and that she had gotten onion rings and they were done perfectly. And that doesn't always happen. And that she went up to the girl at the cash afterwards and told her, like, I just want you to know these onion rings were, like, perfectly done. And the girl started crying because she had been having a terrible day. And that was, like, the nicest thing that had happened to her. And I was like, that's the sweetest story I've ever heard.
Okay, like, seriously, well, we need more of that. Even, like, the littlest things, I always, like, so I used to work at the hospital, and I used to work with this woman. Her name is Shirley. I adore her. Older woman, and she told me one day that every day she tries to do one good deed for someone else. And I've kind of taken that on, and it's a little bit trickier when you don't have coworkers.
Yeah.
But, well, I'll find myself out, or sometimes even when I'm just driving, just like letting someone in, or I'm getting groceries and I can tell that the cashier is kind of grouchy. I'll kind of just like, I kind of make it my mission to sort of turn people around. And I get so excited about it. Like, if I'm successful, I'm so pumped. And even if I'm not successful, I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe another person will come and, like, that person will be successful. At least I'm, like, laying groundwork.
Yeah, you did the heavy lifting.
That's right. But I just think life is hard, man. Like, it's hard. And it sucks sometimes. And sometimes you just kind of need people to sort of turn you around, or even someone just be like, you know what, that sucks. Like, I get it,
Yeah, sometimes you just need to give people a little bit of grace, and you don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe if you got bad onion rings, maybe they got bad onion rings because they found out that their father died just before they came to work. Like, you don't know what they're going through, and it just makes me so angry when I see people being hateful to someone over something that doesn't matter. When I worked in insurance, I would have some pretty rotten days. But I always used to try to say to myself, like, a year from now, will this day have mattered?
Right.
Like, will what has happened today actually have mattered? And if it did, then I would have let myself continue to be upset about it for a little bit longer. And if I was like, you know what, even in a week from now, this is not going to have mattered, I tried to let it go. And that's something that I continue to try to do. Sometimes I'm more successful than others. Sometimes people make me angry when they shouldn't. But, I try to keep that perspective, because to be mean to someone just for the sake of being mean to them gets nobody anywhere.
Yeah, and it's not serving you either, because you're going to get that back,
Yeah.
Like, And I think what you're saying is really valuable. And I think that's something that you could apply to, your nighttime routine, because at the end of the day is kind of when you're processing everything that went on. And I think that's a great question to kind of ask yourself if, you're feeling a certain way about something that went on, and everyone has their own garbage. But if you sort of check in with yourself and you're like, okay, is this something that will matter to me in a year? Or am I just extra sensitive because X, Y, and Z? Or what lesson is this trying to teach me? Because I really do think that there's a lot to be said about that too. Like when
Yeah.
something big happens in my life, I ask myself, okay, what can I learn from this? And what does this tell me about myself and like my own reactions and how I handled it or I'm not handling it? And what that says about me, and how can I do better?
And sometimes you have to have that same problem. It may manifest in a slightly different way, but we often have the same problems over and over because we haven't learned our lesson. Like we haven't learned what that's trying to teach us.
Yeah.
So if you're
Or
somebody...
we haven't learned how we need to change our behavior, whether it's boundaries or making space for people or any of those kind of things as well, right?
And that's not to say that everything that happens in our lives is our own fault, but,
No.
a lot of it is.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need to take our own responsibility. We are active participants, whether we realize or not. And I think just recognizing any kind of responsibility can also kind of help you feel a little bit more in control when things are sort of chaotic or, they feel like you're out of control.
We've really gone down a rabbit hole here.
I know.
All right, we're gonna bring it back because I promised you 45 minutes, and it's been longer than that already. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway because the people will want to know. If you only had time to do one thing, one part of your evening routine, what would it be?
Oh, I feel like my skincare for sure. Because I think that can also be meditative, and I think you can sort of take your time with different things, and I feel like I like the stripping away of the day. Plus, I have to take my contacts out, so
we'll say that taking the contacts out is its own thing. We don't want you to go to sleep with those in. And is there anything that you wish that you could get into your evening or even your morning routine? Anything that you would like to start doing or in a dreamland would do, even though it's not going to happen?
I would like to read more. I do get into sort of habits of doing it for a while, and then I kind of fall off, and then I get back into it. So if I could stick to that on a nightly basis, I would feel pretty happy with myself. I used to do even just like the Audible app, so like just listening to books, and I think even just getting back into that would be a good stepping stone for me. I think there's a lot that, I do in my day that's sort of personal growth. I do the podcasts and I do the meditation and, I do courses sometimes. But I think there's something to be said about doing that stuff before bed because psychology tells us that when you read something before bed, your mind will actually go over it. So you'll actually remember it more if you sleep after.
This is why I don't read any mystery or crime books before I go to bed, because I have an overactive imagination. And people will laugh at me and say, oh, it's not that scary. I'm like, it's not that it's scary. I'm not afraid of it. I will read it during the day. I just cannot read it before I go to bed, or I'm going to have ridiculous dreams all night.
Yeah, I'm like that with, like, TV shows. So I had to stop watching, like, American Horror Story. Before bed because I had the most messed up dreams. So I'm with you on that one for sure. I need like some lighthearted stories.
Well, bed. If you ever need any recommendations, I have got a wealth of.
That's right. You're the girl. So I would say for sure reading I would like to do more, and I think all of us can learn more from other people's stories, so it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I don't know what I would add to mine, honestly. I feel like I've got a solid evening routine. My morning routine, I probably could find a way to, take 10 minutes before I dive right into work. But I like sleep, so I sleep as late as I can and still get my stuff done.
I think in the morning I could not check Instagram when I wake up. Like first thing would probably be a good practice, but it also kind of gets me out of bed because I'm like, shit, I have work to do.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure.
I'm the
'Cause,
same
like,
way because I want to get my nutrition reviews done so I don't have to deal with them because if I need to get them done and each day. I have to do it. If there's no choice, I must do them. So the sooner I can dive in and plow through those, the better the rest of my day is.
yeah, you're on your way.
Yeah.
One thing I will say too, two other things that I do at nighttime, and you probably do them too. I love having like herbal tea.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm just enjoying it while watching Netflix or something. Again, it's one of those things that sort of signals to me that it's like time to slow down. And there's so many great ones that are caffeine free, and it's sort of a fun way, or if you're counting calories or that kind of thing, then at least you're not incurring extra like accidental calories. But
it's helping you get a little extra water.
Yes, exactly. So I love like the chamomiles and the sleepy time teas. I really swear by them, even if it's just from like a placebo standpoint of like you think it's working. I do like that. And then I also have, not sponsored, but I have a product called It Works, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Got at Sephora, and it's a spray.
Oh, yes, I remember when you got that.
Yeah, so it was a gift, #gifted product. It was a gifted product, but I sprayed on my pillow every night. And again, I think there's something to be said about associating certain smells with a certain activity. And for me, I only use that product obviously when I'm going to sleep at nighttime. And again, I'm not sure if it's a placebo thing or if it really works.
No, it had lavender and it had a couple other ones. I can't remember. We deciphered what they were, and now I don't remember. But they were all relaxing ones, so I don't think it's placebo.
Yeah, no, I think, like, and I just love the smell of it, and so, again, like, having your room a little bit colder, and I like to, like, we make our bed every day, so I'm crawling into, like, clean sheets, like, lovely situation. Smells really good. I'm in my pajamas. Like I have to do it all. Like I need I need to be romanced, I think, when I go to sleep.
We also have a sound machine.
Oh yeah.
So as soon as you turn it on, it's like my brain just goes, oh.
Yeah.
Let's get ready for sleep.
Like an air purifier. So it's
same thing.
Yeah. And when I don't have it, if I'm in a hotel, I'm a mess. So I actually use like an app. Because I'm trying to create that routine somewhere else. So I'll do some of the similar things. So I have the travel spray, like a travel size of the spray, have a sleep mask. I use a noise app.
Which one do you use? I use white noise when I'm traveling. That's what my app's called.
Yeah, I have the same one.
Yeah.
Also, the Calm app has like stories in it, so like Matthew McConaughey can like tell you a bedtime story.
Oh.
I know. It's quite lovely actually. And they also have like meditative stuff that you can use to help you sleep too. Again, not sponsored.
I also have a couple yoga nidras that are on YouTube that if I'm having a hard time going to sleep, I will put on, and the woman's voice, like I would listen to her telling me anything. But you have to find those people everybody reacts differently to different voices, but I will link to the couple that I really like.
I would love that. I would love to hear them. Yeah.
I also have a few of my own that I have in my program, and somebody once emailed me because I share those other links as well, and they emailed me and said that they preferred to listen to me over her, and that was like the best thing anyone could have ever told me.
I would listen to yours. Too.
I will.
I think, like, for me, in university, I had a really hard time with sleep. So I think that's why I'm more diligent about it now, and very committed to, like, no caffeine and mindful of alcohol at a certain time of the day, taking baths and unwinding. Sleep is very precious to me because I've been through, like, some really shitty times with it. Yeah. For anyone who's listening that's struggling, one of the things that I would really recommend, and I found great success with it when you do it, is like the body scan breathing exercises. Really annoying. I hate when I have to do it. I'm so annoyed. But if you focus on your breathing and pay attention to your body, it definitely helps diminish the to-do lists and all of the things that are in your brain, and it will calm you down. If you do it, it'll be successful.
Yoga Nidra isn't the same as a body scan, but it is the same sort of idea. Like, they talk you through, every Yoga Nidra has a lot of the same basic components, but then it goes through and it just tells you to think about your right cheek, your left cheek, your right eye, and it goes through systematically like you do in a body scan. So it's not the same, but it's sort of the same. Yeah, so it has the same sort of, it puts you in that in-between state, you know, where you're not quite asleep and you're not quite awake and you don't really know. And if someone asks you if you had a good sleep, you're going to tell them you don't know if you were asleep or not.
I love that.
Yeah, it kind of puts you there.
I love that place.
Yeah.
Can I be there now?
Let me just start to talk. Think about your right cheek and then your left cheek.
No, but I think, like, you know, anyone who's like, oh, I just, like, hit the pillow no matter where I am.
They are my heroes.
Yeah, like, I really envy those people. I just don't know that it's reality for a lot of us folks. You know, unless, I know that a lot of people lean into things like alcohol, and they're like, oh, it helps you fall asleep, but then, you know, it's ruining your REM sleep, so you're going to wake up and feel like garbage. So, I think having a commitment to quality sleep, having sort of that comforting space, a safe place, uninterrupted, work is checked at the door. Hopefully you should be successful. If you're not, you know, there might be some emotional things that are going on that maybe you might want to chat to somebody about.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine, you know. We all do it. We all, you know, need help sometimes. So,
and it can be hormonal too. There's a lot of things. I had horrible insomnia as a teenager, and I'm sure that it was largely hormone related, just because there's so much stuff going on. Thankfully,
Absolutely.
I only have insomnia once in a while now, but thank goodness.
True. For sure, like, as you get older, so anyone in, like, that menopause state, your sleep is going to get more fragile.
Yeah.
And so for folks who are our age, where we can actually sleep, we should be trying to do it as much as possible. And
disclaimer, neither of us have children. So.
True. That's a whole different ballgame.
That
right?
is. Those
That's
people need even more sleep.
That's just survival. Good God. I
Yes.
have so much respect.
I
so
know.
much respect.
I know.
I mean, if you can get 2 minutes, do it.
Yeah, if you have to sleep standing up in a closet, then go for it. I'm on board. Well, it was so wonderful talking to you. I could talk to you all afternoon, but I know
Same.
I know you have work you need to do. Do you want to remind us where we can find you online, Kayla Short? Big time Kayla Short?
Oh, you're so funny. You can find me at shorepresents.com, and I am at shorepresents on basically every social media platform. I'm very open, so don't hesitate to, you know, ask questions or hit me up in the DMs. I love chatting all about wellness and, you know, mindfulness and all of that stuff. I think, you know, as much as it sounds woohoo to other people, I actually love it. So I'm here for it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you as always.
Bye, Susie.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Wellness Simplified podcast. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Kayla. She is one of my favorite people, and it was a fun conversation to have, and it was full of a lot of great information. I do want to apologize for some background noise that you heard there. It appears as though Susie Fevens was fidgeting a bit while she was recording that podcast, and I'm not sure what I was doing, but as I was editing it, I could definitely hear me playing with a piece of paper or something in my hand, so I do apologize for that, and thank you for bearing with me. I will be better in the future, I promise. I told you I wasn't a very good host. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you are looking for any of the links to the meditations and whatnot that we discussed in today's podcast, just go to the link in the description below in the show notes. You can always find those at wellnesssimplifiedpodcast.com. And otherwise, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you again really soon.